I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Oliver.
Welcome to the Superhuman Show, yeah?
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Superhuman Show. I'm your host, Ben Oliver, joined by Ryan Stevens and Skeletor with his cheekbones sticking out, getting ready for the cut for the summer.
You did that on the call the other day.
Oh, yeah. The lighting hit you perfect as well. And it just like highlighted
crying.
the bones. It was,
we focused on you as well on the camera, so we'll be able to see it.
Yeah, just blue steel.
I always see when people do like they're in a prep for a show and stuff, and they're like prep face kicking in, and you can see them like. And I'm like
they've just ate a handful of Sour Patch Kids, like, dieting really hard.
You've been dieting for 2 weeks, and you're claiming about prep face. Like.
But anyway, so today we're going to talk about the components of metabolism, and for the sake of conversation, the components that are applicable to us when it comes to changing our body composition. So if you look at the definition of metabolism, or human metabolism, there's like textbooks of thousands of pages of every single, because really like metabolism is how something is broken down and metabolized in your body. There's millions of things in that, so we're not going to go into the nooks and crannies, and this is where it's a good point to make, because I think people make stuff way more complicated than it has to be. And you're learning stuff for the sake of learning versus learning stuff to actually apply it. So even if you know Krebs cycle, makes no difference as to why you're fat and can't lose weight. Like, it's like, cool, like
what actions can I take based on the knowledge that I have?
So I mean, how many are there? How many components do we have? 4. We got basal metabolic rate,
Exercise activity.
Non-exercise activity, exercise activity, thermic effect of food. So 4. So we can go through each one. So
they all equate to the total daily energy expenditure, which is sort of what we're looking at when we speak about metabolic rate. We speak about the total daily.
This really annoys me when someone says, like, when they say BMR, but what they're actually referring to is TDE, like your total daily expenditure.
Yeah, they get the two.
And so like BMR is just if you were in a coma, not doing anything, how many calories does your body burn just to sustain what it's got?
They call it resting metabolic rate and basal metabolic rate, isn't it?
There you go. So let's talk about that one first. And really, again, we'll talk about it in the application sense. Is there anything we can do with that or does anything happen to it when we start to change our diet and training and things like that?
Well, I guess first, basal metabolic rate is, it's literally how many calories your body burns at rest. So for your organs to function, for your eyes to function, for your heart to keep ticking over, for your brain to function. I tell you what, my brain doesn't burn very many calories. I can tell you that. So it's like if you lay there in a coma, and it equates to roughly around 70%, roughly 60-70%. Of your total daily energy expenditure. So it is the vast majority of what we burn is just being you.
And I'd say, well, that's an average person. If you took like a
marathon runner,
ultra endurance athlete or something, then their energy, their exercise expenditure is probably going to be potentially 50% of that. But
the percentages we're going to talk about are for your average person.
Your typical Big John.
Big John
from the last episode. Big John 69. Okay, carry on.
So it's where were we going with it?
Does it change? So like when we
so it's if you're a bigger person, like Ben is going to have a higher BMR than me. Mine may be a little bit more than Ryan's, but it's probably not going to be that much. In fact, no, Ryan's is through the roof, isn't it?
But which means there's a genetic component to it as well.
There is a genetic component to it. Also, it's related to body size as well. So if someone is a big guy with more muscle mass, they're going to burn more than, like, just at rest than someone who is smaller and doesn't have much muscle mass and has a bit more fat mass in comparison. So it's, the more muscle you have, the more you burn in general. But therefore, like you would say, oh, well, if I can increase my muscle mass, that's going to increase my basal metabolic rate. But then when we look at how much it actually does, again, I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but it's, if you gain like 5 pounds of muscle it increases a small
It's
amount.
like I think it's like an extra maybe like 50 calories a day per pound of muscle. But then like people like that's not a pound of body weight, that's a pound of lean muscle tissue, which is really hard to come by.
So especially for experience.
And I can tell you 50 calories is easy to blow out the water as well.
Was that sniffing apple or something?
Yeah, it's like for every pound of muscle you build, you get an extra rice cake.
Yeah.
Like, cause that's what I don't like it when people say, oh yeah, you know, build more muscle and then you can eat more food. It's like, yeah, but not much.
Yeah.
Like you make it sound like you pack on 5 pounds of muscle and then you'll be able to eat a whole cheesecake every night. Like, it doesn't work like that.
After a year of hard training, you can eat an extra apple a day. It's like
Yeah, treat yourself.
It's like that's not the that's not like the most
You've
efficient.
earned it.
Yeah. Well done, mate. That's a year in the bag there.
Like obviously building muscle is a good thing. So obviously you're going to look better, you're going to feel better or whatnot. But like in terms of to eat more food, like it's the least.
And remember, that 50 cal is also at rest. So when you're exercising, that percentage
It's
will
going to
increase
like
even more.
3x or whatever. Like whatever.
So I don't want to completely disregard the having more muscle helps, because it definitely does. However, you know, from a basal standpoint, like we can't manipulate that BMR that much. You're going to nudge it up a little bit as time goes on. And if you increase total body weight, so you're at the back end of a muscle building phase and you're carrying a bit more fat mass as well, just being you are going to be burning more. Like it's almost like if you did a heat scan on us three right now, Ben would
Sweating
be
from my back.
more red. If I forget the heat scan, you're more red anyway.
Look at his face.
And then on the opposite side, if you say you're in a fat loss phase and you drop a significant amount of weight, then that BMR can also decrease. We've spoke about this in a previous episode about like starvation mode and how your metabolism can adapt to lower calories, and it can, but not to the extent that it's going to completely halt weight loss or fat loss. Because if it did, then starvation, you wouldn't be able to starve to death. Things would just slow down so slow that you would be able to conserve all your energy and live off 500 calories a day and be just fine. But so I think it can shift by about up to 20%. So if we say someone's average, like an average male's BMR is what, around 1,600 calories, maybe? Maybe a little bit. I think that's a bit of an over.
Yeah, I think mine, a guy of my size, my mass would be more like 16, 17 potentially.
So if we just say 1,500 for a round number, if you're dieting very, very hard and say you've probably lost 10 to 20% of your total body weight, then your BMR may go down to 1,300. And so like that 200 calories on a daily basis is significant. However, what I found is in order to lose that 20 pounds, you've probably had to change your eating habits, change your training habits, change your daily activity, which is going to offset that 200 calories anyway. And because I've got so many clients where, you know, you've had it as well, where like I've got a client who's 50 pounds down from when we started and he's eating 1,000 calories more than when we started. And you could look at that and be like, well, you've changed his metabolism. But it's like, well, no, he started off doing fuck all exercise and 2,000 steps a day. And now he's built a good amount of muscle or regained muscle from when he was younger. He's now doing between 17 and 18,000 steps a day. And he's training way harder when he trains. And he's eating enough protein, you know, if you want to factor that in. So that all of those things, he's burning more calories. Like if you looked at his BMR, it's probably lower than when he started. But he's just managed to offset that with this new lifestyle.
The other things that we can manipulate, which we will get into.
The other components we've spoken about just outweigh that. You know?
If you just looked at BMR, then he could be like, I've ruined my metabolism. But it's like, well, no, like it's adapted because you're less fat.
Like, and it will always adapt. It's like people say, oh, you know, well, I've been in a deficit for ages, so my BMR's gone down. And it's like, but then when you start going up in weight, your BMR goes up.
Goes back.
And then when you go back down again, it's going to go back down. Like your BMR is going to fluctuate like this, depending on like your weight gain and weight loss over time. It's not like your BMR goes down when you lose weight. And then if you put your calories up, you correct it back up to where it was. And then it will take time to come back down. It's like, no, because you haven't gained any weight. You're not a bigger person. You're the same size person. So it's like, you're not going to see this massive up and down by just up and down in your calories. Your body will adapt all the time. There's always an adaptation going on. He's off.
He's off. He's left.
Sorry, I just really I've upset him quite significantly with what I said. I guess you want to go into the next one then. So we'll go.
So you know, in summary, BMR is the calories that you burn when you're at rest. There's really not much we can do to manipulate that.
No.
It's going to change based on your overall body weight and body composition.
Yeah.
It's going to go up if you're bigger. It's going to go down if you're smaller.
Yeah.
You made a really good point. Like there is a large genetic component to it. Some people will just have higher BMRs than others.
Yeah.
But it doesn't vary as much as you think. You know, it's not like Ryan's BMR is 4,000 calories and mine's 1,000.
Yeah.
You're talking a couple hundred calories. I think when you're really just at rest doing nothing.
Yeah. When I've tried to look at the research on like the variances in BMR for like people who it doesn't actually fluctuate that significantly. There are going to be subtle differences, but it's not like as you said, it's not 1,000 calorie difference between two guys who are the same weight.
Yeah. And so then the next one we've got is NEAT.
Yeah.
Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. NEAT up 24/7. Hashtag James Smith. Woo. Get some balloons.
Actually, is his mate in it? What was it?
Darren.
Darren.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No beds. But yeah, so non-exercise activity, this is basically everything. And because we tend to throw steps into this.
That's more practical.
But
though,
I would say that is still organized activity because you're planning to get those steps in. Yeah. But it's a combination. But I would say your non-exercise activity is all the calories that you burn throughout your day, which isn't specifically planned.
Like Ben doing that now, talking with his arms.
So this is something that I found when you have, like, people would talk about like somatotypes, like mesomorph, ectomorph, endomorph. Ectomorphs are hard gainers. They're high stress fidgeters.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're just like, they can't fucking stop.
Like this, they're this with their leg all the time.
And like you think it's insignificant, but if you're, you know, that could equate to a couple hundred calories a day. If you're constantly, you know, you're cleaning or you're organizing, you're moving around the house because you don't like to sit still.
It's what is it? It's the stressors and the serial masturbators. They're the ones who do burn the most.
and then you've got the endomorphs that, like, you know, they could take a nap anywhere and they're just slow,
dormant.
Yeah,
I noticed. I don't know if you guys felt the same, but when I did my bodybuilding show, like I was literally just like napping all the time. Where it's like now I would be moving and stuff like this, but then I've closer to the prep, we literally just like this, just like
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've noticed since, so I'm 6 kilos down-ish, 5.5, 6 kilos down. And I've noticed now I do sit down more. Like I just rather than stand up and chat, I'll just go and sit down. I'll rest a little bit more. It's just like it's my natural instinct to rest.
Which goes to show how clever our body's in like conserving energy as like you start to get leaner.
And I would say that's the biggest component to plateaus or like my metabolism is adapting. It's like, no, you're adapting your lifestyle to your energy, and like your body is trying to match your output to your intake.
Yeah.
And because your body's going to go, we're only getting this much. Let's try not do too much.
Yeah.
And that's why it's an uphill battle the leaner you get, because you have to go against everything that your body is doing to try and conserve energy. You have to be like, fuck you, and do the opposite.
And it's strange because your brain, doesn't it? It's almost like your brain becomes like you're almost reluctant to do certain things. Whereas normally, if someone said, "Oh, do you mind passing me that?" You're almost like, "I do." Like, I do mind passing you that. Where like normally you just get it, but when you have been dieting for quite a while, you're like, "Oh, what?" Like I remember Jess said the other day, she was like, "Oh, will you run downstairs and grab me a yogurt pot?" And I was like, "What?" As if like she'd asked me to like do something ridiculous. I was like, "Why would I do that?" And then I was like, all right.
But yeah, like obviously the leaner you get, the more reluctant you are. Like even to go and get your steps in, you're just like, like you don't even want to walk. Yeah. Whereas when you start a diet, it's like,
I think
like you love it.
I think that's why steps is like we kind of translate you into NEAT, because it's something we can objectively control. It's like you can't really quantify how much you're fidgeting.
That's the thing is like walking aside, like walking is amazing for health benefits, you know, burning calories, not really affecting hunger, like all of these things. But the reason why we track steps is that it's the most practical way and affordable way to people to. It's the closest thing to measuring your NEAT that we have.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, we're looking at like how much you're walking per day, but we're also just looking at how much you move throughout the day. And
it's a decent metric to assess that, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's like, before we were using step counters, you would have your set cardio, for your diet, but then we wouldn't even factor in but now we're sitting on our ass.
Yeah.
Anytime we're not doing cardio, we're not doing anything. Whereas when we started our diet, we were doing our cardio and moving.
Yeah.
So then when people are like, oh, I'm doing 2 hours of cardio a day, it's like, yeah, but you're a potted plant for the rest of it.
You also sit down.
Whereas the guy that's doing 30 minutes cardio is also a brickie, and is doing other stuff throughout the day. So it's you have to factor in the non-exercise activity.
That's where I've seen that. I've had some endurance athletes that thing will train. It's like, oh, I train really hard today. It's like, yeah, but you sit at a desk again for 12 hours.
The sedentary athlete.
We call it. Sedentary athlete.
I did it on Wednesday. I did 10K on Wednesday. And then by the time I finished the 10K run, I had done 9,800 steps. By the time I went to bed in the evening, I had done 11,200 steps. Yeah. So it's like I did loads of exercise in the morning, but then I was on my ass the whole day just working. And it's like, so when someone would look at my day and go, oh, yeah, you trained, you've been super active. When you look at my total of the day, it's like, no, people do way more than that.
Yeah.
They just spread it better.
Yeah, that's where if we use my example, I get 15 to 18,000 steps a day, but then it's just walking, it's accumulating throughout the day.
Yeah.
Because people will do training day calories and non-training day calories, but the hour that you're in the gym on your non-training days, you're going to likely spend that hour doing other shit that burns more calories than lifting weights anyway.
That stuff is literally bodybuilders trying to look clever. It's literally it. It's like, oh, my training day calories are 3,247 and my non-training days are 2,963. And it's like, you're a prat. It's like they're going to average themselves out, because then you've got the two schools of thought. One of them is like, well, on the rest days is when you recover, so you want more food to help you recover. And you've got the other school of thought, which is like, on training days you're going to be burning more, therefore you need more calories to fuel the training.
And so it cancels each other out. It's basically like, do you like eating more on day? Or I would do it more to appetite. Does training hard make you hungry? If you're not training, do you tend to think about food less? Cool, then we'll shift your calories based on that, not because there's any magic to do with training.
I literally go, what days you tend to eat a lot more fucking food? We'll put the high days on that.
Honestly, I think for most guys, you could do basically a reverse deficit throughout the week, because most people can eat fuck all on a Monday. Tuesday they get a bit more hungry. Wednesday they want a bit more food, and then as the weekend comes, they want to eat the most calories. So you could almost inverse someone's calories throughout the week. And psychologically, it's like every day gets easier. And then when you're motivated, it's Monday. And then it's like, and then as your motivation falls, you get to eat more food. That's how most people's calories tend to kind of swing across the week.
I think if you take I would say the most common thing, people tend to eat a lot more on the weekend than they do in the week. Basically, less structure. There's more temptations around. So if you think about when you have more calories or not, it's more so for your environment and
totally
than if you're fucking training or not.
I think the only difference is where you should have training and non-training day calories is endurance events. And so if you're training for a marathon or something, you've got long runs at the weekend or whatever, you absolutely need more food on those days, otherwise you're going to bonk.
That's more significant than someone to train in chest in a gym on
Monday. But then again, you could do it on those days or on the days running up to.
Should you carve up?
There's different ways you do it.
Totally. So I think because most of the, this is the thing, most of the things that bodybuilders apply, the research is done on endurance athletes. And they think that they're burning fucking thousands of calories doing bicep curls.
The intra-workout carbs. You're burning fuck all glycogen in that
intra-workout carbs. So you got 8 RM on back squat.
You ain't running out of carbs there.
You got a power lifter eating a Snickers bar between singles, and you're just are you hungry? Because you don't need that.
Refueling for what? Your 4-second set. Stuff like that blows my mind. But no, NEAT is the one. That's the one where you can, again, for most people, especially for our client base, that you can manipulate the most. So if someone is like, I want to boost my metabolism, well, increase the amount that you move over the course of the day. Clean more. Well, I can tell you, my NEAT through cleaning.
Tell your missus to clean more.
My NEAT through cleaning is very
masturbate more.
Whatever you want to do. You could say that as an exercise activity thermogenesis. Well, I include it. Hence why I do 150 minutes of cardio a week. But it's that's the one where you are going to be able to, walk to the shops, park further away, get up and tidy the house, walk at your desk, stand at a desk.
Fight someone.
Yeah, fight someone. Yeah, just punch your nan, whatever you're going to do. It's like just whatever movement you can accumulate throughout the day, that's the one that's going to really nudge up your metabolic rate.
Yeah.
And then
Depends how many punches the nan can take. If she's got a granite chin, you'll really boost the meat.
Depending on how hard your punch is, just one halo, just some little jabs. So then next we have like exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is the planned exercise that you do.
Which
Leg
most
day
people,
on Wednesday.
They put it about, they say about 15% of total daily energy expenditure. You've got about 60 to 70% BMR, roughly 15% through NEAT. So again, quite a big chunk. Whereas the exercise is about 5% when you look at it over the course of a week. Again, for most people.
This is 2 smidgens about fuck all.
Yeah. This is going to be for the guy that probably lifts weights 3 to 4 times a week and is doing around 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
Because if someone goes, well, I'm training for an Ironman and I burn more, it's like, we're not talking to you.
Yeah.
There's
You're skinny and we don't care.
Nerd. But so next one is exercise activity. So this is the planned exercise that you do. So like your 10K run, your weight training, your specific cardio that you're doing in the gym.
Monday chest day, international chest day.
Monday chest day where you burn 5 calories. And on the pec deck.
But make sure you got your calves.
Yeah.
And so I bet when they're on their phone in between their sets, they're burning more calories.
Neat.
So this one can be manipulated. Again, if you're doing more aerobic work, then that's going to significantly change your exercise activity expenditure.
Or an extra set of hack squats.
Yeah, weight training, it really doesn't burn many calories. Even if you're doing a crazy high volume resistance session, when you actually look at the time spent exercising in like an hour workout, you may be exercising for 15, 20 minutes. The majority is like weight training is interval training. You do about 45 seconds of effort and then 2 minutes rest. And so when you look at it like that, it's probably equivalent to aerobic exercise when you actually look at the time spent doing work. Like 15-minute run, hour weight training session is probably going to be similar in calories because you're actually doing 15 minutes of work during your weight training session.
It's just harder work.
I don't really. I mean, I never use weight training as a means to burn calories because that's where everyone they miss the boat with their training, where training is there to stimulate strength training, retaining muscle mass, building muscle mass. And then, I might throw in specific cardio sessions for clients alongside their NEAT.
Yeah, it's like if they want to do, because sometimes we prescribe lifting and they want to do more. But it's like your volume at the moment is ample for you to build muscle or retain muscle. So now you want to lift more weights, as in more like duration of weights, just to burn calories. But I'm like, that's, you're now just taxing joints, you're going to hinder recovery. Now it's like, well, let's prescribe some cardio or get on the tread, get some NEAT in or whatever you want to do. But it's use that stuff to nudge expenditure rather than weightlifting. I'm not so like, let's do another 5 sets of squats to burn calories.
So like you look at like a CrossFitter, their exercise activity thermogenesis is quite high because of the style of training that they do, like the metcons and things, a lot of aerobic work, that kind of stuff. It's probably going to be, on par with their NEAT. I mean, because they're in the gym all day because they don't have jobs. But
or misses.
But yeah, so we do manipulate that one a little bit, but we won't really change the weight training. Again, endurance sports, completely different. And then the last one that we have is just thermic effect of food. So the amount of calories you burn from eating. And I think this one gets massively overstated as well, where, people are like, protein is amazing, like, because you burn more calories eating protein and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, you do, but it's so, because I think it's like,
it doesn't have a significant effect.
No,
over the course of a day.
On paper, it does, but like in reality, no one's like, oh my God, I'm losing so much more weight because I swapped my fucking donut for a protein and now the thermic effect of food is higher. It's like, no.
What is it? Is it 20% for
it's 20 to 30% for protein and then something like fucking 5% for carbs.
And then fat's nothing.
Fat's like 0. So,
but again, it's like, so even if you say like, cool, you net less calories from eating protein, you've still got your overall calorie boundary. You need some fats. you need some carbs to perform. Like protein is a terrible energy source.
Yeah.
Like it gets broken down and converted into and used for energy, but like for high intensity activity, it's awful. It's really, really inefficient to use. Like that's where you're going to want to use carbohydrates. So like eating a diet of 400 grams of protein a day and 100 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
If we just ignore fat and we just say that fat's the same, your diet is way more inefficient. Like you're probably going to net way less calories than if you were doing 200 grams of protein and 200 grams of carbs or whatever, or 300, whatever the math will be. But you're probably going to feel a damn sight better eating 200 protein and 300 carbs and be able to perform harder, burn more calories while you train, recover better. You're probably going to look better because you're not going to be as glycogen depleted, like all of these things. Yeah. So for the sake of, okay, you're not netting the 200 calories that you're burning from the protein intake, you now can't shit because you've just backed up with chicken breast. You're spending a shitload of money on meat because it's protein's probably the most expensive macro to buy. Your energy levels are low, your glycogen depleted, your performance is down. All for the sake of like, but my diet's inefficient. It's like you're inefficient now. And so
and next you know your NEAT drops off because your energy levels, so your training points are, and it balances it out.
So I think thermic, like using protein in terms of like thermic effect of food, if you're under eating protein, like, so if you're under that 0.8 grams per pound, then there's massive benefits to getting your protein intake up. Probably less about the thermic effect of it, but more just from a recovery standpoint, building standpoint. So like, it's really not something that I even think about when it comes to manipulating.
I've never had someone say, I've got my results because of the thermic effect of food of protein.
The only thing that I do manipulate a little bit with guys in surpluses, if their goal is to gain absolutely minimum amount of fat when they're trying to build muscle, I tend to go for a lower fat diet, higher carb, higher protein. Because it is more inefficient than eating a high fat diet in a surplus. If you're in a deficit, it all gets used. Like, because you're pulling from fat stores because you don't have enough. If you have an abundance, I think there is some merit. Like if you're in a surplus and you're eating a super high fat diet, it's quite an efficient way to store the fat.
Storage is immediate, isn't it?
Whereas if you're eating a really high carb diet, and again, it's practicality does come into this because it gets miserable. Like if you're trying to eat 600 grams of carbs a day with 40 grams of fat, like you're just eating all day and it's not that palatable. But like that probably is going to be more effective at limiting fat storage. But again, you're talking in the grand scheme of things. If you're a bodybuilder, I would probably look at being a bit more meticulous. If you're just average Joe, like when you're in those building phases, I would say that's a time to be more flexible and then be like protein calories, don't overeat. Like don't just live off eggs and bacon all day, but then also you don't need to eat cereal all day and no fat. Like it's gonna balance itself out.
It all comes out on the wash.
I think people just, they'll worry about these nuances so much. Like the amount of times you get like a 20-year-old being like, oh, but what about, should I eat 300 grams of protein or 200? What about the thermic effect of food? And you're just like, fuck. Like I get it because that was me. Like, and you're looking at trying to get like every
the missing piece of the puzzle. What's that? Because I seem to be doing everything, but I'm not getting the results that I want. So what's this little?
The answer is keep doing what you're doing just for longer.
Just do it for 10 years.
And it's hard because when you're in that mindset, and which I don't think it's a bad mindset because you're looking to do more and be more effective. But when you factor in job, kids, relationships, other stressors, and you're not that 20-year-old kid that has time to worry about this stuff, then it's like, what's going to give us the biggest bang for buck in terms of results? It's going to be eating enough protein. So ignore thermic effect of food, increase your NEAT as much as what's practical for you, lift some weights. Like that's pretty much it. BMR is going to do what it's going to do. It's probably going to go down a little bit as you get leaner because you're burning less calories because you're smaller. Like that's really as complicated as it needs to be. And again, like bodybuilders in particular, like even certain like coaches, they'll try and like, they always use fancy words like titrate. It's like, oh, we're gonna titrate your non-exercise activity thermogenesis up, whereas we're gonna be like, walk more.
Yeah.
Like it's the same outcome.
Yeah.
And so I don't like the fancy terminology for the sake of trying to sound fancy.
Try to make themselves sound smart.
Totally.
Actually, clever people can make complex things sound simple.
Totally.
Yeah.
But stupid people make simple things sound
Well,
complex.
it's because they feel like they have nothing else to go. Like they're like, well, no one's going to look at me as an authority, so I'm going to make it sound like I'm going to read a textbook and use these fancy words when it's like the way that I break things down now is so different to how I would break it down 10 years ago.
Oh God,
Yeah. Again, the outcome is exactly the same.
yeah.
Like it's again, like if someone goes, well, why do we need protein? 10 years ago, in my undergrad, it's like, well, like it's so protein is made up of like this, like these three components and like and a base and
now it's
Get
like
jacked.
Yeah, do you want to be jacked?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Don't be jacked and get laid.
Don't lose muscle, get ass. Like, so like, yeah, I think everyone will go through that phase of nerding out about the nuances.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's like a bad thing. Like you will probably waste some time, but I think you need to go through that to come out the other side and be like, like here's the things that actually matter, which is protein, lifting weights, and test.
Yeah. Go all in, and then you can loosen the straps off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than sort of, titrate up slowly.
Yeah.
But no, I think when it comes to the metabolic rate, like as we spoke about BMR, don't worry about it. It will fluctuate. If you build muscle over time, it will get a little bit better. Your NEAT, that's one that I would definitely focus on if you are trying to boost your metabolic rate. Move more throughout the day. Try and spend less time sitting down. The thermic effect of food, again, for the benefits that it could potentially bring, the juice likely ain't worth the squeeze unless your intake literally sucks, your protein intake sucks.
Yeah.
And then your exercise activity thermogenesis, train as much as to where you're getting the benefits from a muscle building standpoint, from an aerobic standpoint, and then there's no point just trying to constantly train more just to burn more.
Yeah.
Just one other note on the thermic effect of food, right? Someone who's going, and we're going to talk about someone who's improving their body composition. The chances are their food sources are going to change naturally in favor for increasing your thermic effect of food anyway, without even worrying about it. Because like, if you think about it, people are probably going to eat more protein, higher fiber. So it's not even something to think about. You're naturally going to change your food sources to lean on that anyway. You know,
your diet's going to be built around adherence.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah, you're not even going to.
Because it's like, okay, what food's going to keep me more satiated? High protein, high fiber. Oh, just the highest thermic effect of food.
Yeah.
Job done.
I think the only last thing to talk about, because I'm sure someone's wondering, is fat burners. And fat burners claim to increase your metabolism, burn more calories, like whatever they say to do. Yet they don't give you a rhyme or reason why.
No.
Because,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because. That's it.
Just because. Just trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw one guy the other day, he was like, oh, this burns fat. And he was like, when he pointed at the camera and they're like, I got this person shredded using this. And I'm like, mate, Again, it always goes back to you're either a liar or you're stupid. And you can take your pick. I don't mind. It's like, because it's like they just don't. Because at what part of that metabolic rate, that total daily energy expenditure, at what part do they boost something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They don't tell you that though.
No.
Yeah. Because even like you remember Grenade Thermo, like fat burner.
Yeah.
It used to come in like a grenade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it was, I think, like the ingredients were caffeine, bitter orange extract, which is basically synephrine, and cayenne pepper was part of it. So
that's going to boost that metabolic
so
rate.
yeah, so you've got caffeine and essentially ephedrine, which are going to increase your heart rate. They're probably going to make you a little bit jittery and fidgety, and you're probably going to sweat a little bit more. Not that has any relevance, and then cayenne pepper, it's like it makes you feel a little bit warm. And so I think like people are mistaking a feeling towards like, oh, I'm burning more calories because I'm hot.
Yeah,
and
so
sweaty.
They sweat. When people sweat, it's like when people go, "Oh, sit in a sauna, you'll lose weight," and it's like, Yeah, I'm not losing fat.
You're
Dehydrating myself.
Also, as well, I think we spoke about this before. When someone takes like a fat burn, they think they're burning fat. It's
Placebo
like
effect.
placebo effect,
Yeah.
and then the actions they take the rest of the day will reflect actually what
Yep.
will allow them to burn
Yeah.
fat. It's like, oh, I just took this fat burn day. I'm not gonna have that takeaway tonight. We're not gonna have those 10 beers. I'm gonna go for a walk. Whereas they wouldn't do that previously. They'll drop the weight and say this supplement's the best
like,
ever.
That's probably the biggest merit of supplements
Yeah.
is the placebo effect
Yeah.
that causes behavior change.
Increases their buy-in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like do those things.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
It's like people buy creatine. Next thing you know, they're hitting the gym five days a week, and they're like going in there super intense. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I built muscle. Like,
Get
yeah,
pre-workout,
'Cause you
you
stop
know, then
training like
you
a pussy.
you're
Yeah.
wired, and then you're training harder. You
Yeah.
have your post-workout shake,
Yeah.
and you're just like, nope, I need to get him, and then so your protein intake's going up on a
Going
daily
up,
basis
yeah.
because you're focusing on it.
Yeah.
Like fasted cardio in the morning because you took your fat burner.
Yeah.
It's like you've changed all of your habits to favor fat loss.
Yeah.
And body composition
as a result of buying that pot of herbs.
yeah. yeah. So yeah,
You could literally sell basil.
Yeah.
Sell basil and call it a fat burner, and people will lose more fat.
Yeah. So I really don't think there's any merit to using those things. I think there's some illegal pharmaceutical substances which can probably have an effect, which
They can do that.
we won't discuss.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's really, I would be far more interested in appetite suppressing supplements.
Yeah.
That really, I mean, caffeine is probably quite a good appetite suppressant. Nicotine is another one which gets a really bad rap, but
Yeah.
I'm actually quite a big fan of.
Because it's related to smoking.
Yeah,
cigs.
totally. I would say caffeine is far more addictive than nicotine, from my experience. So, but anyway, yeah. So again, that's an area that you really, it's a non-issue when it comes to metabolism.
Yeah.
I think
It's not boosting metabolism. It's stopping you eating.
and it's driving your NEAT up. If
Yeah.
anything, if you do
fidget a
believe
little
it.
bit more.
yeah,
that's how that was it. Semaglutide acts, isn't it? It's an appetite suppressant.
Yeah.
side effect of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then it comes back with a vengeance when you stop
Yeah.
taking it.
Yeah.
So it's, like anecdotally,
I tell you what's a side effect of eating though, makes you eat less. I ate on Tuesday I ate 10 portions of fruit. So it was more than that. I ate over a kilo of fruit on Tuesday.
you'll be pissing out.
And I've been really bunged up ever since. Therefore, I've eaten fuck all. So,
Great fat
yeah.
loss
If you want to
strategy.
eat less, eat loads of fruit until you're completely full, like a toad, and then you just stop eating,
Go
and then
to
you lose weight.
Go to
Yeah.
Bali and get in a bar.
Yeah, and shove a pipe up your ass.
Well, yeah, we'll wrap this one up. So yeah, I mean, they're really the main components of metabolism that I say that you need to worry about. Really, the only one that you really need to focus on is NEAT.
Yeah.
I think the rest takes care of itself. But,
So masturbate lots, does it taste?
yeah. Lift weights, masturbate, eat
Yeah.
protein. You're good.
Lift weights matter. I might get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Or just a tattoo. Stuff it and it's going
Yeah.
straight across the chest.
Spelt wrong as well. But yeah, so if you didn't know, now you do. But as always, thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. I think we've got the videos working now.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
YouTube,
We'll soon find out.
Spotify, and iTunes. And we'll see you next week.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, Superhuman CEO, reminding you to always go get what's yours.